Hello everyone, good evening. I think just about got everyone. So welcome to the launch of Warriors by Sundra Lawrence. My name is Isabel Kenyon and I run Fly on the Wall Press. We publish ethical, accessible and political fiction and poetry, and each year we run the Aryamati Prize, which seeks social action and peace poetry, of which Sundra was our first pamphlet winner. So 2021 was the first time that we opened it for full pamphlets. And so this year becomes our first pamphlet publication from the prize, which is brilliant. And the pamphlet that Sundra debuts today, officially out tomorrow, but we're being cheeky today, it definitely fits in with the theme of the prize, and it spans a 30-year history against the shadow of the Sri Lankan Civil War, told from the voices of first and second generation British Tamils. Tonight you'll be privy to Lawrence's empathetic poetry style across, joined by really talented poets this evening. Thank you very much to Saradha Soobrayen, Patricia Foster Mckinley, and Malika Booker. And thank you very much to Anjan Saha for hosting, who I'll now hand over to from the London Literature Lounge.
Warriors. We have it. It's out on Fly on the Wall Press. And this is it. That's the cover.
Yes.
Just been handed one, fresh mint. Smells great. Warriors, warriors. Not warriors, is it?
Not really, no.
Not about worrying. It's been worrying times, but this is about warriors.
Yes.
And we have much to talk about there.
Absolutely.
So do you want to just briefly tell us a bit about the process of how you entered this into the competition?
Yes. Well, actually, it's quite interesting because I was writing a blog for Apples and Snakes just about this. And I mean, the whole idea of Warriors, actually, this little group of poems, it came from a call out from Apples and Snakes. And so Apples and Snakes were looking at, well, they put a call out from Shash, who I know is in the audience, Blood Axe Books, were looking for poetry from the Tamil diaspora. And I remember just jumping up and down and going, oh my gosh, that's amazing, because normally it's something that doesn't really relate to you.
Yes.
And then Aaron said, oh, that's really niche. And I was like, no, there's 70 million Tamil speakers and I'm not one of them, but that's my heritage. And so that really got me thinking, and it got me trying to reconnect with that heritage that I'd sort of hidden. I couldn't speak the language. I'm not a Tamil speaker, but I connected through food, through the stories that my mum told me, and she was always telling me stories of back home. And so I sort of went back to my mum, and she really co-wrote the book with me because she, all the stories were the fuel. And so, that just started something, and then it grew from there. And then also reconnecting with Malika's Poetry Kitchen. Quite a few are here today in the house, and that's been really incredible. And also rediscovering the craft as well, and what it is to be a writer, which is lots of reading, lots of absorption, and lots of time. So yes.
No, we were there with you. We there's a few of something called the Malika's Poetry Kitchen, which was set up 20 years ago, and so we now have something which are the kitchen alumni. We graduated and progressed. There's a few of us here today, and there was a feedback process there, and there's a lot of support within the community.
Good evening, everyone. And good evening, Sundra, I should say, the lady of the moment. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor just to be here, but also to be sort of privy to the process that Sundra has been through. She's, reignited the alumni, the Malika's Kitchen group, and within that, she poured so much energy into it, and also, bodied with people to work on her pieces. And now she's come up with this beautiful collection. So, can you all give her a round of applause if you're able to? So. Yes, I've been, I'm part of the alumni group. I was one of the founder members of Malika's Kitchen almost 21 years ago in Malika's orange bedroom. And then met Sundra there, probably 2002.
2002,
yeah, so it's 20 years. Yes. Goodness gracious, she looks the same. Absolutely.
So does Patricia.
So I'm going to share I'm going to do 2 short pieces. That's okay. Cool. Yeah.
Before you begin,
yes,
I'm just going to introduce you. Patricia Foster Mckinley is an award-winning poet, a Sable Poet in Residence, 2014 to 17, a featured poet at Mboka Festival in Gambia, at the Inkwell London Host, an inscribed contracted writer and a Malaika's Poetry Kitchen alumni, which we spoke about. Born in Lewisham, her writing is inspired by Jamaican British heritage and champions women and survivors. A life coach to artists and workshop facilitator, notably for the BBC in 2006 and Every Woman Inspired in Jamaica. She's published in anthologies and publications in UK, Norway, and the USA. She has performed in the Netherlands, Norway, USA, Jamaica, Belgium, and Gambia. Has toured the UK, Europe, and Chicago. In 2013, she released her first poetry film, Lips. Over to you. Please welcome her.
Thank you. I hear your own bio being read. It's kind of surreal, but I feel really blessed to have been on this journey. And I just remember as well, Chicago, 2004.
Yes, 2004.
Yeah, we were in Chicago, representing Malaika's Kitchen, It was just an amazing time. Anyway, I'm going to read. So the first piece I'm going to do is, we've just come to the end of Mental Health Awareness Week, which was last week, and I often take the bus home when I'm coming from my day job. And as a writer, we obviously do lots of observation. So this was a piece that came from an observation, and it's called Oranges. You and me both, she shouts, then stares with head cocked at empty blue space to the right of her seat, between her and window. The rest of the bus is silent. She's eating an orange and offers a splayed out segment to her right. There is no response. She continues to eat, her mouth opens, the juice and mush a yellow mess. Other passengers stare with their own mouths opened. Her chewing gets louder, the slurping and stooped head both deliberate. The outer skin of the orange is waxed and shines. The smell of the rind fills the bus. The Old Kent Road is busy tonight. I imagine she grew up there sharing oranges and talking with those who cared to listen. Thank you. Just another short piece here, which is, most of us know, and as we've lived somewhere remote, we've been in a pandemic, and some people may have been affected by COVID, and various people have. I always check with my husband just to make sure it's okay to read this, share this poem, but he said it's okay. And this was an observation of when he had it, and it's called Vigil.
So I haven't got a tough enough skin to really take on the people that have told you what it is.
I'm going to have to mute somebody.
Social media. I don't do Twitter. We understand it. I'm not very good at it. I'm a bit of a secretary. I do.
Just telephone.
Everybody needs to mute themselves, please.
And I'm very curious, but I'm not in that box with saying it because I'm writing. I say related elders and 60 like that. I don't think that which is
okay. The wonders of modern technology. Yes. This is what we call a hybrid event, right?
Yes,
in person and Zoom, which is all good. So the piece is called Vigil. The bedside grey plastic bucket remains empty. I watch for the movement of your chest and tummy, check your stomach's fullness. I have no thermometer, but use my hand to gauge your heat. The 111 doctor is loud on the phone. Is his chest hot? Is his stomach hot? Is his cough persistent? Can he hear you? You are deeply asleep, unaware of my nods and yeses. I tell the doctor, boiled lemon and ginger is your staple. No garlic as it lowers blood pressure. COVID lowers it enough. Doctor says, good job, I think. Each night I sit perched on the end of our bed. It's 2 weeks since I joined you, since you fainted on the bedside cabinet, since I caught your groan and fall, patted your face, cradled your head on my bended knees. From YouTube, a Psalm 91 audio is loud and on repeat. Each night I just stare at you in this dimly lit bedroom over my blue mask. Twist my wedding and engagement rings to face forward. They slide easily on a slimmer finger. Thank you very much.
Hey Sundra, hi everyone. My name is B. Manzini. I'm really pleased to be part of this very, very special book launch. Sundra, so proud of you, so happy that you have won this amazing prize and the world gets to see and feel and hear your wonderful, wonderful work. It's been an honor and pleasure to be your buddy during this process, and yeah, as we say, the time is now and it is your time. So I'm going to use my 5 minutes wisely, and I really wanted to start with what I call an ancestral libation. And what do I mean by that? So in my culture, I'm of Zulu and Khoikhoi, Swati heritage, and we pour libation to honour people that have passed, our ancestors, and to honour ourselves, you know, the wisdom and the wonderful things that we carry in our hearts, minds, and our DNA. So just to say that Yebo in Zulu, those of you who are Amapiano fans probably know that Yebo means yes, and I'm going to use that. And Dumiso means praise song, and this is a piece that came to me through a very difficult time when I felt quite alone, but I hope it's a gift to all of you that sometimes feel alone, because we really never are. And even though this is coming from another dimension, literally in terms of Zoom, and also in terms of the sentiment, I hope it lands in a visceral way. The ancestors would say, we declare we would like it when the crisp morning comes and wipes away the frost of sleep. From the petals of your eyes you rejoice at the bloom of breath that leaves your mouth. Yebo, yebo. As your chest, accordion-like, moves with the motion of your thoughts, know they are quiet praise songs, ndumiso, for the ancestors who listen for your breathing each morning and in the evenings before they take flight to a dimension with no questions. Still, what is it you need to know today, you miracle of the sun and earth? Yebo. If you are beautiful enough, lovable enough, does a flower seek anything other than to be fed and watered, to follow that which fills and allows growth? The attention you seek, beloved, is inevitable. So be still, be bold, be simple like a flower. Yebo. For truly, what else is there to do? So that is my verbal libation, and I should say that the phrase "be simple like a flower" comes from one of my favourite songs by Michelle Monticello, who's an amazing artist. So it seemed appropriate to share that, because Sundra, I think that you're absolutely amazing in the work that you're doing, and the way that you're documenting history is so important. So thank you. So the next and last piece that I'm going to do is called This Is Not a Thank You, which just recently won the Outspoken Prize. There is a film version of it on the website, or if you go on my Instagram, which is at bmanzini, you can find the link that will take you so that you can see it. I'm conscious of time and that I've only got a couple of minutes, so I'm going to give you a bit of a teaser and do part of the poem, but you can go and see it and experience it in another way later. This is not a thank you. We spent 11 years. My memories of you are a mound of salt, my throat clogged with crystals that will not dissolve. I can't imagine tasting love again. My face, our spring-broken mattress, my existence, twisted sheets, discarded to the floor, no one to lift me up. I'm an old front-page headline announcing 2 in 3 marriages end. Was I naive to vow to share every single tomorrow? This house now doubles in size every day. You're not here to fill it. I tell myself it is just the repetition that I mourn. The 6 a.m. buzz of the alarm before blind ring finger hits snooze. The bathroom buzz of clippers shaping your dawning beard. You wash away the cling of yesterday. Dress, gathering, fastening, smoothing, done through a crack of light. You grant me a quartered smile, then shadow puppet fingers wave at our bedroom door. So that is a snippet, and yeah, I'm really, again, just to say, really happy and excited for this collection to be out in the world. And thank you so much for having me to be part of this wonderful award-winning lineup. And yeah, I will see you soon.
So here we are, here's the chapbook. In her deepest sleep, Madame Lisette Tellet returns to Chagos. It's the opening poem I'm going to start with. We have a beautiful, intense picture of Madame Tellet here, the corner here. What's really lovely about this collection is I was able to bring some Creole, which is my mother tongue, into the pieces, and I've prefaced each title with the Creole. So I'm gonna try and be multilingual here. Dans un sommeil plus profond, Madame Lisette Tellet retourne sa gosse. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. In her deepest sleep, Madame Lisette Tellet returned to Chagos, leaving the Mauritian slums where so many continue to follow her example, standing in protest against the lies and chaos orchestrated by the officials who claimed there were no indigenous people on Diego Garcia. Paros Bajos, none on the Cybilic islands of Salomon or Egmont, and so the islands were swept and sanitized, an albatross was spared, and the order given, a few man Fridays must go. The slave ancestors who fished, loved and prayed across the centuries, the generations who dried the cocoa, extracting oil from the kernel of the nut, even the boss of the copra plantation struggled to see over the rainbow. On the main island of Diego Garcia, the US base Camp Justice squats. The Chagosians are still chanting, "I knew Diego, I knew Diego, I knew Diego." 30, 40 years later, fighting for the right to return. Their loss is unimaginable, these guardians of the Chagos archipelago. La vie n'est pas ce que l'on a vécu, mais c'est dont on se souvient. Life is not what one lived, but what one remembers. In the communal living room of memory, over centuries, the archipelago and the Chagos Islanders shared custody of a gentle way of being, tied to sand as coral is tied to sea, each dependent on the other's hospitality and protection. The revered souls of the coral atoll of the archipelago are as restless as the forgotten souls of the Chagosians. Both suffered the forced removal from Diego Garcia, America's other Guantanamo, The island is uprooted, and le pep des racines. The reef blasted to create an anchorage. The coral world interrupted by fear. Sacre, la triste, misère. The loss of one's emotional ecosystem. Sounds like root shock. This earth sea was once sacred, a fertile base nourishing those who fished or walked lightly. The sandy soil too delicate for potatoes or carrots, but home to 7 varieties of banana. Malay rose apples and custard apples, a treasury of simple gifts, bottle gourd, bitter gourd, snake gourd, and the holy coconut. So I don't know if you can see on the map that the Chagos Archipelago is just underneath India, south of Mauritius. And they're still kind of debating on, I found a map that says Chagos Archipelago. Normally it says the British Indian Ocean Overseas Territories. The final poem. I confess, I gave into despair and didn't sleep for days when in her deeper sleep, Madame Lisette Talet Returns to Chagos was launched in New York Schronberg Center, where artists and activists pass on the baton, where Amira Baraka's hand asked Mayor Angelou's hand for a dance, cheek to cheek, when Harry Belafonte met Ella Fitzgerald for a timeless duet. I'm hiding at my parents' house in New Barnet. My iconic amulet, Toni Morrison, flashes on screen, my carefree world interrupted by fear of self-promotion, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the nervous system out of sync, sounds like root shock. This shifting mindscape was once sacred, where I whispered, am I an imposter or a poet? Is it called the Chagos Archipelago or British Indian Ocean Territories? Who has the right to name them and their ancestral homelands? The Queen, the UN, the US, the UK, the Mauritian government. Who are they to refuse the Chagosians' prayers to return to the archipelago? Dear God, no man, woman or child should be exiled from their islands. Thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you for listening, really.
To welcome Malaika Booker, a British poet of Guyanese and Grenadian parentage, co-founded Malaika's Poetry Kitchen. She was shortlisted for OCM Bocas and the Shemasini Centre 2014 prize. She's been published with poets Sharon Knowles and Washington Shire in the Penguin Modern Poets Series 3, Your Family, Your Body 2017, and awards include the prestigious Forward Prize for Best Single Poem 2020, Cave Canem and University of Leeds Douglas Caster Fellowships. She lectures at Manchester Metropolitan University, and Manchester is also the home of Fly on the Wall Press. So, great pleasure. Let's give Malaika a round of applause.
Hi, everyone. Oh my God, it's so good to see some of your faces here. I am actually at in Marble Hill for the opening back of Marble Hill because they featured one of my poems in their exhibition, talking about the history of the complicated history of colonialism and mahogany. So it's carved into a table here. And I'm sorry I couldn't get on. We couldn't get me on the internet. So I'm here now. I'm so proud of Sundra. I'm very, very proud of you. I had to be here to support you. I just can't wait to read the book, and I can't wait to see its journey in the world. So I'm just going to read an excerpt from a poem for you, and it's called Her Silent Wake, and I am just going to start. So this is a Jamaican mother who's just found out that her son Herbert Morris, who served in the First World War, has been killed by firing squad. And so she gets the news. And I imagine what that mother feels like getting the news. We were commissioned to write about the stories that are not told about West Indian soldiers who served in the First World War. Her silent wake. The stillness is eerie, cloudy like stagnant water. John crows pick her flesh, the blood white with sorrow. Tiny exhalations, in, out. The only sign of life. She's a black statue in a whitewashed wooden chair. A dilapidated board house, sitting still till dusk, spreads her silk petticoat across the sagging sky, and bats swarm into evening's canvas. Her boy Pickney, Herbert, dead, too. I heard rumors, murmurs, heard Ophelia, Ophelia, gets up. Smelt smelling salts, limacore. I heard priests' prayers. My body was quarry stone. My world had turned grey. The motherland had called her sons to her bosom. Come, sons, come. Fight for your motherland, she said. Then that bitch pressed her callous feet onto our boys' backs until spines cracked, then grind those broken bones into pieces and did not send their crumbs back. What mother does not want the crumpled dust of her son instead of nothing? Him dead. I rend my red cotton dress, beat my breast bloody, sewed coarse rice sack dresses, then grate my skin raw, rubbed ashes from rage into my sobbing skin. Unlike Jacob, my son is dead. Oh, son, who bade your carcass down there foreign? Who fling white rump on the ground? Son, I have no language for this loss. Him dead, I turn over the mattress, line up your slippers and one dress shoe, rearrange your furniture, and find I care nothing for terms like deserter or coward. You are my son. What titles can belittle my son? Oh, son, who pelt down dominoes down there foreign? Who keep vigil over your body all night? Son, I have no language for this loss. Him dead, I yank out my cane rose, tear my hair up in savage tugs, and pull till it turned mutted bush. A hive for bees, fat, succulent ones, ruled by a king called George. The day I whispered your death news to the bees, I broke that king's back. Oh, son, who stopped their clocks down there foreign? Who sings Sankey and reads scriptures? Son, I have no language for this loss. Him dead, I cover the mirrors, sip cocoa tea, watching the breadfruit tree where your navel string was buried, and feel to take an axe and chop, 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 when I think about how they take you whole, name on paper. 4. They said that when she heard, she fell into a trance. Then she holler and holler. And the next day she went into the front of the house with a shovel and dig and turn the earth till her hands looked like raw meat and blood dripped from the handle. And when she'd made a row of beds, how she bent her back and crawled in the dirt, pushing in the seeds in that punishing sun, howling her son Herbert's name like psalm, like hymn, like scripture. It would be said that in the absence of a body, she had to bury something. How she'd rather he'd returned home crippled or crazy, like some of the soldiers deposited back here like sour fruit, limbs missing, or muttering to themselves, or flinging their bodies down on the ground at any loud noise, blocking up the city like vagrants, like the refuge England refused. How she'd seen that there was no glory to be had, so prepared herself. Was it not she who told him to go? Sign up for king and country, for motherland, for glory, proud of her soldier son, knowing his insides were soft like egg, but determined for him to return. But not like this, news on a paper, scratching on a telegram, visit to her door, how guilt mixed up with sorrow, and now she's making him a garden of flowers, a monument, a way of burying something into the island's earth. In this small place, your worth as a woman is measured by the number of sons you produce. Each day is long now, and I cook up pots of empty. The main ingredient is loss with a dash of woe. Its scent foul, stagnant, and cloudy. My only boy child is dead, young, still in his chin. Young, still in his chin. That bitch of a stepmother England built a forest of bones for rats to feast on, succulent black men. The scent of our actions rancid as hell, and now I am worthless. My grief is a carcass swinging on a butcher's hook, stabbed into the back of my neck. My neighbor's sympathy simply slices each pound of flesh. Thank you. And Sundra, congratulations.
That was incredible, as ever. So, we are. That was wonderful, Malaika. So, where are we? Okay. This we're going to edit out, right? Yeah? Right. Add thin. Hey, Patricia, come here a sec. I'll show you something. Look at this.
Me?
Yeah, just come in view. We've got Malaika, we've got Sundra. Do you remember we all performed at I did a literature lounge at Tate Modern? Remember years back?
Yeah.
Aaron Gosh was on, and
Yeah.
we were with the Turners, and do you remember all the accents?
Yeah.
Because this story used to be told people. Anyway, I found in the sent through Amazon just today from yesteryear, I've got some images at the end of the show. Look.
Oh my!
Are you showing pictures of young people of us in our youth?
At the end of the night, someone stood on the chair at the Tate Modern.
Oh wow!
But none of us are wearing the same clothes. That's a good. I'll just share that with you. We're friends,
about
right?
15 years ago.
Oh my God.
Oh wow!
I don't know if you can see that. I just thought, if ever there's a moment, may as well go pub.
No!
Amazing.
Oh my goodness!
And then there's a performance right in the hall in there.
Oh wow!
These are
I've been looking for photos. of that,
heritage artifacts,
Oh,
and right into today.
evidence.
Wonderful,
Yes.
with the absinthe and the art and the poetry. And so with you all here,
Oh wow.
in the spirit of the kitchen, I had scribed a few lines just earlier,
Oh,
which is about the process of why we all come together. Because people, although we can all talk, I think it lures you into a full sense of security that you can write as well. But there is a craft. And so we're going to say new pen, new ink, deep blue for the deep dive, a new astronomy, seeing new skies, new lines, graphite and charcoal, aqua brushes, aqua color, fine lines and pencil, a digital stylus, I tap it across my fingers like a conductor, a hockneyed art pixel ink. The new medium is a message of old. We're sat in a Pentecostal circle, lane of hands, feeling the spirits rise. It's a new climate, it's a cool breeze in the month of May. A typewriter hung on the wall of the library. The carriage to the left, the red keys, far left, far right, and all the keys in between are black. How many pens, how many pages, how many stages? Platinum in the month of June. Evolving in life as we do, a petri dish of life. We got stride, we got confidence, we walk high. A stirring of electric notes. Because these are the words, the brushstrokes. It's the lines that pull us through. A marking of a page, an open terrain, adding lines and playing with color. Ink stable, turntables, you're my point of view, a singular line, a high cost of living, a spike on the ECG graph. And 2 years of shutdown and the oligarchs are in free form. 2 legs bad and they cut you from under your feet. So it's better to think for yourself and be a free thinker, a free radical, and on the front lines. Thank you. That is spirit of the writers. And now, who should we have now? So I think.
Thank you, Malaika. That was
Thank you.
such a beautiful, moving poem. I was sat on the sofa, glad to enjoy it. Thank you. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Theatrical.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, so well, we have a little video we can
Yes.
show.
Shall we show that?
Yeah, I think a
Are
little
you okay
video.
for time?
Yeah. For time. Yeah, I think if we're going to show it, I'm going to share this with you now. Now.
Oh, that's fine.
Oops. I'm going to.
You have to share screen.
Yeah. And
You
This.
share screen.
this. I think we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to come back to that. And as we do,
Oh, Malika's going. Bye, Malika.
Bye.
Bye.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad I was able to pop upstairs and do this, and it found me. See you guys later. I hope I can see it online. I'm going to go online to see your reading and see the rest of it. Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye.
Well, I think we're pinned anyway. Ah, that's why we're pinned anyway. Okay, over to you now. It gives me great pleasure to introduce again Sundra Lawrence, the winner of the Aryamati Prize for Warriors. Yeah. This deserves a swivel. Yay. From the kitchen to the literature lounge.
Yay.
That's how we do it. Okay, there we go. Now, we're on. I think what I'd like to say is, obviously, we're very conscious that Sri Lanka is in turbulent times right now.
Yes.
And so this still continues to speak to us.
Yeah.
And it must be quite for your family to be seeing what's happening now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, well, first off, it's actually really fitting to be launching Warriors today, because yesterday was 13 years since the end of the Sri Lankan Civil War. So it started in 1983 and it ended the 18th of May 2009, so the year my daughter was born. But it's also Malivaikal Remembrance Day, because in the last stages of the Sri Lankan Civil War, 40,000 Tamil civilians were killed, either caught between the shelling. So there is still that tension, because the Tamils are trying to grieve, whereas the government is saying, well, you're grieving for terrorists. So it's a very important moment. Even Keir Starmer, I know Shash shared a tweet from Keir Starmer was on, actually saying that the Labour Party stand with the Tamil community, which was really incredible to see. But also in terms of what's going on at the moment with the near political and economic collapse with Sri Lanka and the Rajapaksas, what is actually happening is Tamil and Sinhalese and Burgher and Kafir and all the different communities in Sri Lanka are actually coming together to try and kick out the Rajapaksa dynasty, which has been going on for a long time. There's no excuse now. There's no war. It's just managing the country. And
I mean, I did speak to some Sri Lankan friends that I have, and it's hugely complex to analyze it. The geopolitical movements, the role of China and low-paid workers, and the building the roads to, and the different power shifts that are happening geopolitically. And I think we should really begin by, I remember we heard your poems, didn't we, in the writers groups. We helped hone them and gave you feedback. We had Rassam, we had flavors, we heard about the libraries that burnt down. So I'm going to really hand it over to you to give us a reading from your new book.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, and what a wonderful privilege this is to have my kitchen family, my family, my friends' family in my lounge, in my kitchen. This is Sundra's kitchen, this is Sundra's lounge, London Literature Lounge. Thank you so much to Anjan, you've been brilliant bringing this all together, to Isabel for Fly on the Wall Press. It's really such a moment, and I'm truly humbled. Despite all the horrors that are going on in the world, we can still come together and feel joy. And we think of famous people or spiritual leaders and who say actually it is a miracle to be alive today, and it really is. And so to share that with you is brilliant. I'm going to get on now with the poetry because I know that we are running out of time, and it'd be nice to squeeze in a few poems. So I'm going to start with Russum. Anjan, you mentioned Russum. I know it's a favourite of yours.
Yes.
Just to say that a lot of immigrant families, Asian families especially, and Jewish families and lots of immigrant families, food is so important, right? And especially in the Asian tradition, your mother, it's that old joke, your mother will never say, I love you. She'll say, have you eaten, right? So that is very much where we come from. So as I mentioned before, I'm not a Tamil speaker, so I hold my hands up, but I do feel connected. My parents are Tamil and I've grown up in London, but I feel connected through food, through the stories, through, that closeness held in that gaze of my heritage. And I think food is quite political as well, because the stories come out from there. And I think that's where it all starts. So I'm going to read Russum, okay? Russum. Mum would make it to dry out our colds. Icarus pepper, garam masala, flesh-soaked tamarind, sealed with garlic, coriander, mutton boiled clean off the bone. You must learn Tamil, speak it. The swell of heat claps the pot lid and sweats our yellow wall. This is all the medicine you will need, she says, ladling up to brim. We sit balancing broth on our laps, blow brown islands in each spoon. She reminds us not to leave anything behind. Our tongues burn pepper hot with each sip. Right. When I was writing these poems, as a lot of you know, Kath and Patricia and Anjan, that a lot of these poems were getting quite heavy, and I think Kath was like, oh, it'd be nice to have a light poem. And I really wanted to have something to sort of spark the celebration of what Sri Lanka is about, the communities. And Sri Lanka, for those of you who don't know, it's a teardrop in the Indian Ocean, and it was actually in it was on the ocean trade route. So there's a mix of cultures, there's Portuguese descendants, there's burghers, there's even an African community. Can you believe that? An African community from East African slaves and soldiers who were brought in to fight the Kandyan Sri Lankan people who didn't want to give up to the British. So there's a history there. And part of that history is also music. And so when the African slaves came over, they brought music. And there's a type of music called baila, which everyone tends to dance to, everyone parties to, whatever background you are. People say it's Sinhalese music, but actually it's got African beats, it's got Portuguese rhythms, and it's a mix. And, every time we went away on holiday, we would always go to an uncle or auntie's house, and all the time we would have to stay at uncles and aunties. This one time we went to France and we were at my uncle's high-rise flat. And one day we went on a road trip, and there was a convoy of Tamil cars going to Mont Saint-Michel, and we stopped off, we put out the picnic blankets, the cassette player came out, and Baila started blaring, and it was just so wonderful to see it. And this is called Somewhere in Normandy. I had no idea where we were, but the music was good. The dads are dancing, their wrists, hips polish the air, metronome feet wake dirt, lost in Baila's 6/8 beat. It is summer. Us kids are holding down picnic blankets. We pick at sumbul so hot it breaks plastic. Away from uncle's high-rise outside Paris, the mums talk Tamil. I listen to its song, chew straw and suck the memory of orange. The music of Mozambique slaves who were shipped by the Portuguese to fight Lankan kings stays in the ear of Sinhalese, Tamil, Burgher, Muslim and Kafir Sri Lankans for all parties. Before the war, they said that Batikaloa lagoon fish would sing. Cut the island and it will bleed music. Thank you. Time for, well, time for a few minutes, a few more.
Yes, absolutely. We had a few last comments, and then that's been my favourite in the book, Sundra, to the previous one. Ibrahim, that was beautiful, Sundra. This is nice, isn't it?
This is lovely. This is instant response.
Just trying to switch device. Okay, battery issue there. Okay.
Okay.
What have you got for us next?
Yes, okay, so I'm going to read now Summer 95. And so when I was growing up as a kid, we couldn't go to Sri Lanka because in the 80s, the war was just horrendous. And my grandparents saying it's too dangerous, it's too dangerous. 1995, there was a lull in the violence. It was my parents' wedding anniversary. So we went to Sri Lanka, which was brilliant. But also the backdrop to that was that there were lots of people being kidnapped. There was enforced disappearances, and so we still had to be quite careful. And you know, the UN actually said that there are up to 100,000 people who are still missing. So mainly Tamil boys or young men will just get taken off the streets and bundled away, and you wouldn't see them again. Also Sinhalese Tamil sympathizers as well. So we still had to be quite careful, but it was still a holiday, and it was a holiday for us, and we were excited to do things like go to the cinema. And this is called Summer 95. Returning from a movie in downtown Colombo, our family is stopped by armed police at a checkpoint. It's late and we are Tamil. Sinhalese officers poke a flashlight into the back of the tuk-tuk. The driver keeps his hands on the wheel, tries to open up a conversation. A peaked cap officer questions my mum. Where are you going? Where have you come from? She answers in rusty Sinhalese. ID, he barks. Mum pulls from her purse a batch of burgundy passports, places them on top of her oversized black one, the gold letters of United Kingdom flair. The officer opens the Sri Lankan one first. His torch picks out the shiny photo and English name, place of birth, Valan Jaffna. Silence. He thumbs the pages of our passports like a royal flush, but stops at my brother's childlike shot. Now 15, his faint moustache seems thicker in this light. They tell him to step out. Mum, please, but we are British. I want to shame them with my London vowels. The officer tells the driver to turn off the engine for us to wait in the vehicle. We understand the metal instruction of rifles. The men encircle my brother. His shoulders are casual, dark denim, collar up like he's hanging with his mates. Our driver pelts the steering with his fingers like type bars, striking a letter of complaint. Mum pinches each stone of her rosary. Glass beads scratch fast prayer. My breath is somewhere in the polythene seats. The officer returns, tips up his cap, rubs the bald crease above his frown, then asks Mum where she grew up. Mutual, Colombo. The surprise unhooks his scowl. Mutual, he repeats. His mouth relaxes on each syllable. That's where I'm from. His voice is song, neighborhood song, and when did she leave? The passports on my brother are returned. Please go straight back home. He slaps the stretched tarp above us. The gas pedal goes down. The engine climbs in pitch like a nest of wasps nearing. Thank you.
Wow,
Right.
potency there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Have I got time for one more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So have I got time for one more? Yes. Okay. This one, I'll end on this one then, shall I? Yeah.
Yes.
This one is called Warriors, and it's the title poem. And actually, I wrote it a few years ago at Tammy Yoselov's workshop, Art and Poetry. And it was inspired by Thomas Schuttler's Krieger, which is two interesting sculptures, wooden sculptures of two soldiers. But it seems to resonate with the poems, the later poems that are coming out or have been coming out recently. So it seemed to fit, and it seemed fitting. Warriors. We never asked to be made like this. Brutal and injured totems with the vanity of mountains. We were acorns once, picked by the sun and groomed by the wind. We heard news of the world, carried on the breath of moths. We took our questions to the sea. It told us to carry the burden and broke its mirror over us, a distillation of everything. Sunrises to burnt stars. The ground shook, trees yanked like limbs on a dancing puppet, shaking a map of roots free, downpouring rubble and rock. In that atomic moment, we saw where hatred and Holocaust go, sealing their rage in our stained bark.
Wow.